The night was dark and cold beside Miller's Lake, the water black and still beneath a sky heavy with clouds. 26-year-old Hannah Ellis stood trembling near the edge of the water, her wrists bound tightly with rope, her wedding dress torn and soaked from the earlier struggle that had brought her to this terrifying moment. "Please," she begged, her voice shaking with desperate fear. "I did nothing wrong. Please do not do this." Her mother-in-law, Diane, stood coldly beside her, arms crossed, her expression carrying nothing but cruel satisfaction. Beside her, Hannah's husband, Peter, refused to meet her eyes, staring instead at the dark water, his jaw tight with something that looked almost like guilt, though not nearly enough to stop what was happening. "You should have known your place from the beginning," Diane said coldly. "This family does not tolerate weakness, and you, my dear, have proven yourself weak in every possible way." "I have done everything you asked," Hannah pleaded, tears streaming down her frightened face. "I have tried so hard to be a good wife, a good daughter-in-law. Please just let me go. I will disappear. You will never see me again." "That is exactly the plan," Diane said coldly, nodding toward the two men standing silently behind Hannah. Before Hannah could scream again, rough hands shoved her violently forward, and she fell hard into the freezing black water below. The shock of the cold water stole the breath instantly from her lungs, her bound wrists making it nearly impossible to swim. Panic and terror overwhelming her completely as she struggled desperately against the water, pulling her steadily downward. Above her, on the shore, Diane watched coldly for a moment before turning away without a single glance of remorse, gesturing sharply for Peter and the others to leave quickly, disappearing into the darkness as if disposing of an unwanted object rather than a human life. Hannah's lungs burned painfully, her vision beginning to blur as exhaustion and cold overwhelmed her completely. Just as darkness threatened to consume her entirely, she felt strong arms suddenly wrapped tightly around her, pulling her rapidly upward through the freezing water toward the surface. She gasped desperately for air the moment her head broke through the water's surface, coughing violently, disoriented and terrified, as she was pulled quickly toward the shore by someone she could not yet clearly see through her blurred, panicked vision. "I have you," a deep, calm voice said firmly. "You are safe now." Hannah collapsed weakly onto the muddy shore, coughing and shivering violently, barely able to comprehend what had just happened. Slowly her vision cleared enough to see a tall, powerfully built man kneeling beside her, his dark eyes studying her carefully with quiet, serious concern. Who are you?" she managed to whisper weakly, her body trembling uncontrollably from cold and shock. "My name is Alexander Cross," the man said calmly, quickly removing his own jacket and wrapping it carefully around her shivering shoulders. "I was walking near the lake when I heard you scream. What happened to you?" Hannah's mind raced with panic and confusion, still processing the horrifying reality of what her own family had just attempted to do to her. "They tried to kill me," she whispered, disbelief and horror clear in her trembling voice. "My husband's family. They threw me into the lake." Alexander's expression darkened instantly, quiet fury flickering behind his controlled composure. "Who did this to you?" he asked, seriously. "My mother-in-law, Diane," Hannah said weakly, tears mixing freely now with the lake water still dripping from her hair. "And my husband allowed it to happen. He just stood there watching, saying nothing." Alexander studied her carefully, something protective and serious shifting behind his dark eyes. "You are safe now," he said firmly. "I will make sure nothing else happens to you tonight." Hannah studied him carefully through her exhaustion and fear, uncertain whether to trust yet another stranger after everything her own family had just done to her. "Why would you help me?" she asked weakly. "You do not even know me." "Because no one deserves to be thrown into a lake and left to drown," Alexander said simply, his voice carrying quiet, unwavering conviction. "Regardless of whatever reasons your family believes justified this." Alexander carefully helped Hannah to her feet, supporting her weakened, trembling body as they made their way slowly toward his waiting car, parked nearby. Hannah remained silent throughout the walk, shock and exhaustion overwhelming her completely. Though quiet gratitude toward this mysterious stranger slowly began settling gently beneath her overwhelming fear. Once safely inside the warm vehicle, Alexander turned toward her carefully. "I'm taking you somewhere safe," he said gently. "You can rest properly, and we will figure out exactly what to do next once you have recovered." Hannah nodded weakly, exhaustion finally overtaking her completely as the warmth of the car slowly began easing her violent shivering. As the vehicle pulled away from the dark, terrifying lake, Hannah allowed herself, for the first time that horrifying night, to believe genuinely that perhaps she had truly survived, rescued unexpectedly by a complete stranger whose quiet strength and unexpected kindness offered the first glimmer of safety she had felt in what suddenly felt like an unbearably long time. She had no idea that the calm, powerful man who had just saved her life controlled one of the most dangerous criminal organizations within the entire city. Nor did she understand that this terrifying, life-threatening night beside the dark, Cold Lake was about to become the beginning of an entirely new, unexpected chapter in her life. One that would ultimately lead her toward genuine safety, unexpected love, and long overdue justice against the cruel family who had so callously attempted to destroy her. Hannah woke up slowly the next morning, disoriented by the unfamiliar softness of the bed beneath her and the warm sunlight filtering gently through tall, elegant windows. Panic surged briefly through her chest before the previous night's terrifying memories crashed back fully. The cold lake water, her mother-in-law's cruel words, and the stranger who had pulled her desperately from the freezing darkness. She sat up slowly, noticing her torn wedding dress had been carefully replaced with soft, comfortable clothing clearly provided sometime during the night while she slept. A gentle knock interrupted her thoughts, followed by an older woman entering quietly, carrying a warm breakfast tray. "Good morning," the woman said kindly. "I am Marta. I take care of things around here. Mr. Cross wanted to make sure you had everything you needed." "Thank you," Hannah said quietly, still overwhelmed by the sudden shift from terrifying danger to unexpected comfort and safety. "Where exactly am I?" "You are at Mr. Cross's estate," Marta explained gently. "He brought you here last night after finding you at the lake. He's currently downstairs, if you feel ready to speak with him." Hannah nodded slowly, gratitude and lingering fear mixing uncomfortably as she processed everything that had happened. After eating a small breakfast, she followed Marta downstairs, finding Alexander waiting quietly in a bright sunlit study. "Good morning," Alexander said, standing respectfully as she entered. How are you feeling?" "Confused," Hannah admitted honestly, sitting down carefully across from him, and still trying to understand exactly what happened last night. "Take your time," Alexander said gently. "Whenever you feel ready to talk, I am here to listen." Hannah took a deep, steadying breath before slowly explaining her situation. The arranged marriage her own struggling family had encouraged years earlier. The increasingly cruel treatment she endured from her husband's wealthy, controlling family. And finally, the horrifying betrayal that had led to her being thrown into the lake, left to drown simply because she had recently discovered evidence of serious financial corruption within her husband's family business, evidence she had unknowingly threatened to expose. Alexander listened carefully throughout her explanation, his expression darkening with quiet, controlled anger as she described the cruelty she had endured. "They attempted to murder you," he said seriously, "simply to protect their financial secrets." "It seems so," Hannah said quietly, exhaustion and lingering horror clear in her voice. "I never meant to become a threat to them. I simply noticed something suspicious in their financial records and made the mistake of asking questions." "That was not a mistake," Alexander said firmly. "Seeking honesty and transparency is never a mistake, regardless of how dangerously your family chose to respond." Hannah studied him carefully, gratitude slowly warming despite her lingering fear. Why are you helping me so completely? She asked honestly. You do not know me at all. Alexander considered her question thoughtfully before answering. Perhaps, he said slowly, because your courage, choosing honesty even when it clearly threatened your own safety, reminds me of qualities I deeply respect and rarely encounter within my own complicated world. Hannah's cheeks warmed slightly at his sincere words. Thank you, she said softly, for saving my life and for listening now. You are safe here for as long as you need, Alexander said firmly. I will ensure your former family cannot reach you again. One quiet afternoon, as Hannah sat peacefully in the estate's garden, slowly regaining her strength and confidence, Alexander joined her. Sitting comfortably nearby, you seem to be recovering well, he observed gently. I'm starting to feel like myself again, Hannah admitted, offering a small, genuine smile. Thanks to you. Alexander studied her carefully, something serious yet warm behind his thoughtful gaze. Hannah, I must be honest with you about something important. What is it? She asked, curiosity mixing gently with lingering caution. The family who harmed you, Alexander said carefully, Diane and Peter Whitmore, they are not simply cruel, controlling people. Their financial corruption, you discovered, connects directly to serious criminal activity that unfortunately overlaps with certain rivals within my own dangerous world. Hannah's breath caught sharply. What does that mean exactly? It means, Alexander explained seriously, that your former family likely has dangerous connections capable of causing significant harm, especially now that you have escaped their control and remain a living witness to their corruption. Hannah's stomach twisted uncomfortably, fear resurfacing rapidly despite the peaceful safety she had begun feeling. Are you saying I am still in danger? Before Alexander could answer, one of his guards approached quickly, his expression tense and urgent. Sir, apologies for interrupting, but we have received troubling information. It appears Diane Whitmore has hired private investigators, actively searching for Hannah's current location. Alexander's relaxed expression vanished instantly, replaced by sharp protective focus. They already know she survived, he said grimly. Hannah's blood ran cold, terror crashing suddenly through her entire body. They know I am alive, she whispered, horror clear in her voice. Alexander, if they find me again, they will not make the same mistake twice. Alexander's jaw tightened with fierce determination, his eyes hardening protectively. They will not find you, he said firmly. I will make absolutely certain of that. Alexander moved quickly, gathering his most trusted men to discuss the sudden, dangerous development regarding Diane's private investigators. Hannah sat anxiously nearby, fear tightening steadily within her chest as she processed the terrifying reality that her former family already suspected she had survived. How thorough is their search so far? Alexander asked seriously, addressing his guard directly. They appear to be checking hospitals, shelters, and known associates, the guard reported. So far, they have not connected Hannah directly to you or this estate. We need to keep it that way, Alexander said firmly. Increase security immediately and ensure no information regarding Hannah's location leaves this property. Hannah listened anxiously, gratitude mixing uncomfortably with overwhelming fear. This is exactly what I was afraid of, she said quietly. They will not stop until they are certain I am truly gone. Alexander turned toward her, his expression softening slightly despite the seriousness of the situation. I promise you, Hannah, I will not allow them anywhere near you again. Over the following days, tension steadily increased throughout the estate, security measures tightening noticeably, guards patrolling more frequently around every entrance. Hannah found herself growing increasingly anxious, though Alexander's consistent, calm presence offered some comfort amid the mounting danger surrounding her. One evening, as they sat together quietly in the study, Hannah studied Alexander carefully, curiosity slowly building within her. Alexander, may I ask you something personal? Of course, Alexander said gently. Why do you seem to understand betrayal and family cruelty so deeply? Hannah asked carefully. You react to my situation almost as if you have experienced something similar yourself. Alexander was quiet for a long moment, old pain flickering briefly behind his controlled expression. My own father was betrayed by someone he trusted completely, he finally admitted. That betrayal cost him his life and left me responsible for an entire dangerous organization far too young. Hannah's expression softened with quiet empathy. I am sorry, she said gently. That must have been incredibly difficult. It was, Alexander admitted honestly, which is partially why your situation affects me so deeply. I understand intimately how devastating betrayal from those who are supposed to protect you can truly be. Hannah reached out gently, taking his hand in a comforting gesture. Thank you for understanding, she said softly, and for protecting me so completely, despite barely knowing me. Alexander studied her carefully, warmth and genuine affection slowly building behind his usually guarded expression. You are not simply someone I am protecting out of obligation, Hannah, he said quietly. Somehow, over these past few days, you have become someone I genuinely care about. Hannah's heart pounded gently at his unexpected honesty, warmth spreading quietly through her chest, despite the danger surrounding them. I care about you too, she admitted softly, more than I expected to, considering everything that has happened. Their tender moment was interrupted suddenly by Marta rushing urgently into the room. Mr. Cross, she said quickly, we have a serious problem. Peter Whitmore is here, at the front gate, demanding to speak with you directly. Hannah's blood ran instantly cold. Peter is here? She whispered, fear crashing violently through her entire body. Alexander stood immediately, his expression hardening into fierce, protective focus. Stay here, he said firmly. I will handle this myself. Alexander, please be careful, Hannah said anxiously. Peter may seem weak, but his family is dangerous. Alexander nodded seriously before moving quickly toward the front gate, finding Peter waiting nervously outside. His expression carrying visible guilt and desperation. I need to speak with Hannah, Peter said quickly the moment Alexander approached. Please, I know what my mother did was wrong. I need to explain. Explanations will not undo attempted murder, Alexander said coldly, his tone carrying quiet, dangerous authority. Peter's expression crumbled slightly, guilt clearly overwhelming him. I was terrified of my mother, he admitted quietly. She controls everything, our finances, our business, even my own decisions. I should have stopped her, but I was too afraid. Fear does not excuse standing silently while someone attempts to murder your own wife, Alexander said firmly. I know, Peter said, his voice breaking slightly. That is why I am here now. I want to help expose my mother's corruption. Properly this time, with real evidence, real consequences. I owe Hannah that much at the very least. Alexander studied him carefully, suspicion mixing cautiously with quiet consideration. Why the sudden change of heart? Because watching Hannah nearly die, Peter admitted honestly, finally made me realize exactly how deeply corrupted my family has truly become. I cannot continue living under my mother's cruel control any longer. Alexander remained skeptical, though something in Peter's genuine desperation seemed convincing. If you are serious about this, Alexander said carefully, you will need to provide concrete evidence against your mother's criminal activities. I already have some, Peter said quickly. Financial records, documents proving corruption and fraud. I copied them secretly before coming here tonight. Alexander considered this information seriously, understanding clearly the potential danger and opportunity this unexpected development presented. Wait here, he said firmly. I will discuss this with Hannah directly. Returning quickly to the study, Alexander explained Peter's unexpected appearance and his surprising offer to help expose Diane's corruption. Hannah listened carefully, conflicting emotions clear across her face. Do you believe him? She finally asked quietly. I'm uncertain, Alexander admitted honestly. But if his evidence is genuine, it could finally provide the justice you deserve. Ending this dangerous situation permanently, Hannah took a steadying breath, determination slowly replacing her earlier fear. "Then let us hear what he truly has to offer," she said firmly. "It is time to finally face the truth about everything Diane has done." Peter was brought carefully into the study, his expression nervous and guilt-ridden as he faced Hannah directly for the first time since that terrifying night beside the lake. Hannah studied him carefully, old hurt and lingering fear mixing uncomfortably with cautious curiosity. "Hannah," Peter said quietly, his voice trembling slightly, "I am so sorry. I should have protected you. I should have stopped my mother." "You stood there and watched," Hannah said sharply, anger clear beneath her controlled composure. "You said nothing while she threw me into that lake to drown." Peter flinched visibly at her words, guilt overwhelming his expression completely. "I know," he admitted quietly. "There is no excuse for my cowardice. But I am here now, trying to make things right, however impossible that may seem." Alexander watched carefully, studying Peter's genuine remorse alongside Hannah's justified anger. "You mentioned having evidence against your mother," he said seriously. "Explain exactly what you have." Peter nodded quickly, pulling out a small flash drive from his jacket pocket. "These are financial records," he explained. "Proof of serious fraud, money laundering connected to dangerous criminal associates, and evidence clearly showing my mother orchestrated tonight's attack against Hannah, specifically to prevent exposure of her illegal activities." Alexander took the flash drive carefully, his expression serious and calculating. "This could be enough to expose your mother's entire criminal network," he said thoughtfully. "That is exactly my intention," Peter confirmed. "I want her held accountable, completely and permanently, for everything she has done, not just to Hannah, but to countless others harmed by her corruption over the years." Hannah studied Peter carefully, cautious hope slowly beginning to replace some of her earlier anger. "Why should I trust you now after everything that happened?" Peter met her gaze directly, sincerity clear behind his tired, guilt-ridden eyes. "You do not have to trust me completely," he said honestly. "But please allow me the chance to help make things right, even if it does not fully repair the damage already done." Alexander considered the situation seriously, weighing carefully the potential risks and benefits of trusting Peter's unexpected cooperation. "If this evidence is genuine," he said finally, "it could provide exactly the justice Hannah deserves, while simultaneously eliminating a dangerous criminal network operating within my own city." Hannah took a deep breath, uncertain but slowly finding cautious resolve. "Then let us verify this evidence carefully," she said firmly, "and if it is genuine, we move forward with exposing Diane completely." Over the following days, Alexander's men carefully analyzed the evidence Peter provided, confirming extensive financial corruption and dangerous criminal connections tied directly to Diane Whitmore's business dealings. As the investigation deepened, they discovered something even more troubling. Evidence suggesting Diane had been secretly working alongside a dangerous criminal organization rivaling Alexander's own influence within the city. This goes far deeper than simple family corruption. Alexander explained seriously during a tense meeting with his men. "Diane has apparently been supplying valuable information to Victor Reyes for years, receiving substantial financial benefits in exchange for her cooperation." Hannah's eyes widened with shock. "Reyes, the same man who previously threatened your organization?" "The very same," Alexander confirmed grimly. "It appears Diane's cruelty toward you was not simply personal anger, but calculated self-preservation, protecting a much larger, dangerous criminal partnership." Peter's expression paled considerably at this revelation. "I had no idea my mother's corruption ran this deeply," he admitted, horror clear in his voice. "I believed her actions were simply about protecting our family's wealth and reputation." "It appears," Alexander said seriously, "her motivations were significantly more dangerous than you realized." Hannah studied the situation carefully, fear and determination mixing steadily within her chest. If Diane is working directly with Reyes, she said slowly, then exposing her corruption could put all of us in even greater danger. Yes, Alexander confirmed seriously. Reyes will not simply allow his valuable informant to be exposed without a serious fight. Peter looked between Alexander and Hannah anxiously. What do we do now? Alexander's expression hardened with fierce, calculated determination. We proceed carefully, he said firmly, but we must act quickly before Diane or Reyes discover we possess this evidence and attempt to eliminate the threat entirely. Just as Alexander finished speaking, one of his guards rushed urgently into the room, his expression alarmed. Sir, we have a serious problem. Diane Whitmore has discovered Peter's absence and is now actively searching for him. Worse, our surveillance indicates Reyes's men have been spotted near the estate's perimeter. Hannah's heart pounded anxiously, fear crashing rapidly through her entire body. They already suspect something, she whispered. Alexander's jaw tightened with fierce, protective resolve. It seems, he said grimly, we no longer have the luxury of careful planning. Diane and Reyes are moving quickly, which means we must move even faster. Before they have any further opportunity to silence Peter, Hannah, or the truth we now possess, Alexander moved quickly, immediately increasing security throughout the estate, as tension escalated rapidly with the confirmed presence of Reyes's men nearby. Hannah stood anxiously beside Peter, fear and uncertainty clear across both their faces as they processed the sudden danger surrounding them. We need to move Peter somewhere secure immediately, Alexander ordered firmly, addressing his guards, and ensure the evidence remains protected at all costs. What about Hannah? Peter asked anxiously. If Diane discovers we are working together, she will not hesitate targeting her again. Alexander's expression hardened with fierce determination. Hannah remains under my direct protection exactly as before. Nothing changes that. Hannah studied Alexander carefully, gratitude and quiet fear mixing within her chest. What is our plan now? She asked seriously. We must move quickly to secure the evidence publicly, Alexander explained, ensuring Diane cannot simply eliminate the threat by silencing us privately. Once the evidence becomes public knowledge, killing us would only confirm her guilt rather than protect her. How do we accomplish that safely? Peter asked nervously. I have trusted contacts within law enforcement and journalism, Alexander said seriously. Individuals who can ensure this evidence becomes public swiftly and securely, protecting all of us in the process. As Alexander's men prepared carefully to secure and distribute the evidence, tension within the estate grew increasingly intense. Guards patrolled continuously, watching closely for any sign of Reyes's men attempting further intrusion. That evening, as Hannah sat anxiously with Peter in a secured room, waiting nervously for updates, a sudden explosion rocked the estate violently, alarms blaring loudly throughout the property. Chaos erupted instantly, shouting and gunfire echoing through the hallways as Reyes's men launched a coordinated aggressive attack. Stay down! Alexander's voice shouted urgently as he rushed into the room, weapon drawn, his expression sharp and focused despite the sudden chaos surrounding them. They are attacking directly, Peter said, panic clear in his voice. They must know about the evidence. We need to move immediately, Alexander said firmly, quickly guiding Hannah and Peter toward a hidden passage leading to a secure underground room built specifically for emergencies such as this. As they moved swiftly through the chaotic hallways, gunfire echoing dangerously close, Hannah's heart pounded violently with fear, memories of her earlier terrifying encounter beside the lake resurfacing painfully amid the current danger. They reached the hidden safe room just as several of Reyes's men rounded the corner, weapons raised. Alexander quickly pushed Hannah and Peter inside, turning back briefly to confront the approaching threat directly, engaging fiercely with his own men to protect their retreat. Inside the secure room, Hannah and Peter waited anxiously, listening fearfully to the sounds of violent conflict raging just beyond the thick walls protecting them. Minutes stretched painfully, tension and fear building steadily with every passing second. "This is my fault," Peter whispered guiltily, his voice trembling with fear and remorse. "I brought this danger directly into Alexander's home." "No," Hannah said firmly, despite her own fear. "This is Diane's fault and Reyes's fault, for choosing violence and corruption over honesty and accountability." After what felt like an agonizing eternity, the chaotic sounds outside slowly began quieting, replaced gradually by tense, uncertain silence. Hannah and Peter waited anxiously, unsure whether the silence signaled victory or tragedy. Finally, the safe room door opened cautiously, revealing Alexander, exhausted and injured slightly, blood visible along his arm, though his expression carried quiet. "Determined relief. It is over," he said firmly. "Reyes's men have been captured or driven off completely. But we need to move quickly now, ensuring this evidence reaches the authorities before Diane or Reyes can attempt anything else." Hannah rushed forward immediately, concern clear across her face as she noticed his injury. "You are hurt," she said anxiously. "It is minor," Alexander reassured her gently, though exhaustion remained evident in his voice. "We do not have time to worry about that now. We need to finish what we started, working quickly and carefully." Alexander's trusted contacts within law enforcement and journalism moved swiftly to secure and publicize the evidence against Diane's corruption and her dangerous alliance with Reyes. Within hours, news of the extensive fraud and criminal partnership began spreading rapidly, drawing immediate serious attention from authorities. As dawn broke slowly over the city, exhausted but relieved, Hannah, Peter, and Alexander gathered quietly together, watching news coverage confirming Diane's arrest. A carefully hidden criminal empire finally exposed completely to the public. "It is finally over," Hannah whispered softly, tears of relief and exhaustion building gently in her eyes. Alexander studied her carefully, warmth and quiet admiration clear behind his tired, relieved expression. "You showed remarkable courage throughout this entire ordeal, Hannah," he said softly. "Diane's cruelty could have easily destroyed you, yet you chose bravery, honesty, and justice instead." Hannah met his gaze steadily, gratitude and growing affection clear in her tired eyes. "I could not have survived any of this without you," she said softly. "Thank you, Alexander, for everything." Alexander reached out gently, taking her hand carefully in his. "This is only the beginning, Hannah," he said quietly, warmth and genuine affection clear in his voice. "Now that this danger has finally passed, I would very much like the opportunity to know you fully, beyond simply protecting you from danger." In the weeks following Diane's arrest and Reyes's defeated network, life gradually settled into a peaceful rhythm Hannah had never truly believed possible after everything she had endured. Diane faced serious criminal charges, her carefully built empire of corruption and cruelty finally collapsing completely under the weight of undeniable evidence. Peter, having genuinely helped expose his mother's crimes, chose to distance himself entirely from his family's tainted wealth, slowly beginning a quieter, more honest life focused on making amends for his earlier cowardice. Hannah remained at Alexander's estate, gradually healing from the trauma of her near-death experience, slowly rebuilding her confidence and strength with Alexander's consistent, gentle support. Their earlier protective relationship steadily transformed into something deeper, built genuinely upon mutual respect, shared vulnerability, and growing affection neither had initially anticipated. One peaceful evening, Hannah sat quietly in the estate's garden, watching the sunset paint the sky with warm, comforting colors. Alexander joined her, sitting close beside her, his expression calm and genuinely content. "You seem more at peace lately," he observed gently. "I finally feel like myself again," Hannah admitted, smiling softly. "For the first time in years, I do not feel afraid or trapped." Alexander studied her carefully, warmth and quiet affection clear behind his thoughtful gaze. "Hannah, I have been wanting to discuss something important with you. What is it?" she asked curiously, her heart pounding gently in anticipation. "When I first pulled you from that lake," Alexander began softly, "I never imagined how deeply you would come to matter to me. Watching your courage throughout everything that followed, your strength, your honesty, your resilience despite everything cruel that had happened to you. I have fallen genuinely, completely in love with you." Hannah's breath caught softly, happiness and warmth spreading rapidly through her entire chest. "I love you too, Alexander," she admitted honestly. "Somewhere between fear and safety, between danger and genuine kindness, I found myself falling in love with the man who saved my life in more ways than one." Alexander smiled warmly, genuine happiness completely transforming his usually composed expression. He leaned forward gently, pressing a warm, loving kiss against her lips. Filled with quiet promise and profound happiness, neither had expected to discover through such a terrifying, unexpected beginning. When they finally parted, Hannah rested her forehead gently against his, contentment and quiet joy settling comfortably between them. "What happens now?" she asked softly, curiosity and hope mixing gently in her voice. "Now," Alexander said warmly, "I would like the opportunity to build a genuine life together. Hannah, free from danger, cruelty, or fear, who filled instead with honesty, respect, and lasting happiness." Hannah smiled brightly, joy and gratitude overwhelming her completely. "I would love nothing more." Months later, Hannah stood confidently within the same peaceful garden, dressed beautifully for a quiet, intimate wedding ceremony, surrounded by close friends and carefully chosen guests, including Marta, who had become like family throughout Hannah's incredible journey toward healing and happiness. Peter attended respectfully, genuinely grateful, witnessing Hannah's remarkable transformation from victim to survivor, and now joyfully to bride, as Hannah stood beside Alexander, exchanging heartfelt vows beneath the warm afternoon sun. She reflected quietly on her incredible journey, beginning with unimaginable cruelty and betrayal beside a dark, cold lake, and culminating now in genuine happiness, safety, and profound love she had never truly believed she deserved. "Do you, Alexander Cross," the officiant asked warmly, "take Hannah to be your wife, promising genuine love, protection and partnership for as long as you both shall live?" "I do," Alexander said firmly, his eyes filled completely with genuine love and quiet devotion as he gazed warmly toward Hannah. "And do you, Anna Ellis," the officiant continued gently, "take Alexander to be your husband, promising genuine love, trust, and partnership for as long as you both shall live?" "I do," Hannah said softly, happiness and profound gratitude overwhelming her completely, as they exchanged their final, heartfelt vows, sealing their genuine, hard-earned love with a warm, tender kiss. Hannah finally understood completely that even the darkest, most terrifying moments of her life could ultimately lead toward genuine healing, unexpected happiness, and lasting love, proving clearly that courage, resilience, and honesty could triumph decisively over cruelty and betrayal. Standing together now, hand in hand, surrounded by genuine friends and newfound family, Hannah and Alexander looked forward confidently toward their shared future, deeply grateful for the unexpected, challenging journey that had brought them genuinely, completely together, ready to build a lasting life founded upon trust, respect, and profound, unwavering love.